get caught up in the answer. The worst thing that can happen to you if you're saved is heaven. And that's a good thing. Some of you worry about what people think about you. I'd ask you to raise your hand, but you're too concerned what people would think. You're not going to do anything with that because you're worried about it. You try not to care about what people think about it. How do you do that? It's kind of hard because you're thinking about what they're thinking about. And they're not even thinking about it. They're thinking about what you're thinking about. And you say, well, you don't want to say, well, sometimes you tell people, I don't care what you think. But if you really didn't care, you probably wouldn't even say it. You know, what's the answer? The antidote is this. I'm not going to think about what they're thinking. I'm not going to care about what people, great. But what's the antidote? The antidote is this solution from Bethlehem, is the Yeshua. The answer is, what does God think? The more you focus on what God thinks, the less you're going to care about what man thinks. He who is a Jew, it says, and he's speaking spiritually here, not just you were born Jewish or not. His praise comes from God. His approval comes from God. Get wrapped up in the approval of God. Get wrapped up in the voice of God. Get wrapped up in the love of God. And you won't care so much about the rejection of people. Some of you are living in a always rushed, maybe most of you, rushed. And we try to deal with time management. You know, you have to go here, you have to go here, and you have to go there. You know, I deal with this. You know, what I do is I set my clocks fast. So the idea, some of you do this, the idea is to delude yourself. You're working at fooling yourself so that you'll think it's later than it is, and then since you have a problem getting on time, and then you'll get there and it'll actually be on time. But it doesn't work. I mean, you know, I delude myself. I used to set clocks like 5 minutes ahead. 15 minutes ahead. My clock in my bedroom is 45 minutes ahead. Truly. It's like 44 minutes. And it doesn't work. Because I do the calculation in my head. I have a system. I said, no, sorry, clock, you're not fooling me. You thought you could fool me. No, it's not. I'm on to your little games. You know, I tried things of having different clocks at different times to fool myself that way. But no, I figured it out. If the living room clock is at 3:05, I multiply the last integer by the fifth power, divided by the bedroom radio clock by 3, and I have the correct time. The real problem is we live on this spirit of like, it's not enough, I never have enough time, never have enough. No. How do you deal with all the rush? I never have enough time, well, I try to do better. Well, that's all great. You try to do all these things, that's great, but what's the antidote? Think the other way. Think outside the box. The answer to the time problem is eternity. So the key is dwell more in the presence of the eternal God. More in the eternal, and you're not going to be all bent out of shape all the time. Because spend time in the presence of God. It's true. It's weird. People say, I don't have time to just take time away or have a Sabbath. If you don't have time, the Sabbath principle, whether it's one day or whether in your day as well, it actually gives you time. Some of you deal with loneliness. What's the opposite of what's the answer? Try not to be lonely? No. The answer is the fellowship of God. There's nothing that can make you more at peace, antidote to loneliness, than the presence of God. But you got to get into it. It doesn't matter if you're married or not married. Well, I'm single, I want to be married. That's not going to do it. It's the presence of God. Or you're dwelling on what you want, I want this, and you buy this thing, and then you feel happy for a day, and then you want more. And it's never enough, because it's the heart, it's not the thing. You know, you're always looking at what's not in your life, what your husband isn't, what your wife isn't, what your job isn't, what your life isn't. And you know what? You're putting yourself in a spirit of want and lack and poverty. What is the opposite? The opposite is to give thanks every day for all that you have in God. All that you have, that is the antidote. The more you give thanks, the less you're going to have. That's where you're going to actually be happy. If you just went home today and you start writing down some of your blessings, you're going to become happy. You're going to be joyous. You're going to feel rich. You're going to feel blessed. I mean, every single thing we deal with, I mean, in some way or the other. Some of you are afraid of losing things. Well, stop. Well, how about dwell on what you can't lose and nobody can take away? There are a lot of you who deal with rejection. And God, you know what I'm going to say? The answer is not rejection or, hey, I got someone else to like me, or, hey, I proved myself, and look, these people like me, or I don't care, I'm not going to think. No, it's get into the acceptance of the Lord, and you're not going to be dealing with rejection. You're not going to be caring about it. Or some of you are right now, there's a problem on your mind. It's a problem you're dealing with. And you're thinking of it, and you're afraid of it. You're looking at the size of it. Well, look at David. He had a problem, and he had a big problem. And the problem was named Goliath. And how did he deal with his problem? He didn't look at the size of Goliath. Because if all he did was that, he'd be finished. Or he didn't say, I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to do more things, and I'm going to get this guy. Didn't do that. He knew he wasn't strong enough. But he didn't look at the size of Goliath. He looked at the size of God. That's the opposite of the problem. Whatever you're dealing with, look at that. The problem is nothing compared to the size of God. The key is focus, focus. He was looking at God. And he could there run to Goliath and deal with it. You can run to your problem and deal with it instead of running away from it. Instead of being trembling, because the size of God is so much greater. What makes troubles disappear? Or how do you deal with trouble? See, Messiah, it says, you shall call his name, the name shall be called. His name wasn't, troubles are not with us. He, in fact, promises you're going to have troubles. You can people put these scriptures on their refrigerators. I never see this scripture on there. You will have troubles. Stand on it, claim it, and name it. Because you're going to have it. But his name isn't troubles aren't with you. His name is God is with you. And what that's saying is, it doesn't matter about the troubles in the end, because the key, if you're focusing on life, an Emmanuel life, a God is with me life, then the troubles are going to be a lot smaller. It's that old hymn.